This is Mario Andretti, and you are listening to Below the Yellow Line.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Below the Yellow Line podcast. We've had a number of short track owners, promoters, and just people involved with the tracks on the show recently. We are trying to help out as many short tracks across this great nation as we can. Today, we have Jason McCahan on from the Clinton County Speedway in Clinton County, Pennsylvania. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. My first question for you, and I've asked kind of everybody this, is how did you get into your job? Were you brought up in racing? Was it something you found later on? How did you get involved in this business?
So Clinton County Speedway opened in 1989, and interestingly, the first year I just went as a fan and knew I had to be involved in some way. So as a high school kid in 1990, I started mowing grass and painting bleachers and helping out where I could, and sort of through that, the promoters at the time, I just sort of, learned as I went. So before you know it, I started announcing and started doing advertising and marketing and help with program books. And so then I got away from it a little bit, and I promoted an asphalt track out in central PA for a couple of years. Came back to the area, and in 2002, 3, and 4, I promoted Clinton County Speedway for 3 years. Then got out of it to have some kids. And a couple years ago, the fair board called me back and said they were looking for a promoter and asked if I would come back. So now I'm in my second round this time. This is my 4th year back at the Speedway.
All right. Do you have, as a promoter, I feel like promoters have always been different to me in terms of the things they do. Humpy Wheeler over at Charlotte was known to pull off some crazy stunts involving fire and school buses and whatnot. I was talking to the promoter of the Batesville Speedway here in Arkansas a few weeks ago, and he said he had a Travis Tritt concert and lost about $125,000. Hopefully you haven't done anything like that, but do you have a favorite promotion that you've done so far, or a favorite moment from your time being the promoter at the track?
We focus a lot on our kids' activities. So, trying to build the future of the youth of the sport. So we've done things like, cash and candy scrambles, where I have a sponsor that puts out, we put $500 on the front stretch with a bunch of candy. We do Power Wheels racing. I started that the first time I promoted the racetrack. It was popular. We've done it again. And so now that we run a stock, and then we have a modified division because the dads all of a sudden start tweaking on the cars, trying to make them go faster. This past year, I looked about the possibility of shooting a guy out of a cannon, but we couldn't get our dates matched for that. And I am in the market for school buses. So working with our local school bus contractor, I'm just waiting for a couple school buses to go out of proper use that are still running, because that is something I definitely want to do is race those.
That would be a lot of fun. School buses, whether they're racing or being jumped over by another, like a sedan or a motorcycle, I don't know why track promoters love them so much, but there's so many creative uses when you can use them, even if they don't run. But anything involving school buses is usually going to be pretty fun for the fans in the stands to watch. And speaking of those fans, what is, this might differ a little bit for you as a promoter rather than a track owner, or somebody working in a ticket office or something like that. But what is your relationship like with the fans, and what is your relationship like with the drivers as well?
So, it's a balance between the two. So I've known promoters that have always relied on the back gate and try to just, have the pits pay the way. And today you can't do that. You need a balance of both. And so I'm always looking for ways to encourage new fans to come to the Speedway. I always tell my fan base, the best way to increase and keep the sport going is on Friday night if you bring a friend with you. So, I think that's always important, because I've done that every year. Since I've been involved in racing and been a fan of racing, I always try to take somebody new to a racetrack. And, I think a lot of people have said throughout my career, even, when I was a fan, of what do you get out of cars going in circles? Well, until you experience it and see it firsthand. So at the end of the night, when people walk out of the gate and they're happy, realize they had a good show at a decent price, made some new friends, got to eat while they were there. That's what you need to do to make sure they come back in the later weeks.
I think I can't remember it might have been Glenn Luckett at Salem, but he said off camera that the most important thing anybody involved in and just in the business that you guys are, sports marketing, promoting a short track is being a people person. And it might seem like, racing knowledge is, first and foremost, right? But, I like what you talk about there with the way we're going to grow this sport, because let's face it, and I say this, maybe this is just a NASCAR thing, but from what I see is most of the demographic now of race fans are still older. They're in that 65, 55 plus demographic. The way that, we get newer fans is they bring their friends, if they're interested, do that. And I love that you say that, because that is going to be such a big catalyst in helping our sport. And I say this as a younger person on the social media side of racing and NASCAR and short track racing, that it's doing good. Like, it's growing. And, but I love that you say that about bring a friend. And I've been telling everybody to go to these tracks or watch the races, and, bring a friend in your living room, watch one of these races on Flow Racing on TV, take him to the track with you, and you never know. I mean, I fell in love with racing at a young age, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners, viewers did as well. And it's so impactful to just take somebody with you, watch a race with you. So do that for sure. Aside from maybe Power Wheels racing, which is a first that I've heard anyway among promoters, what do you think makes Clinton County unique as a racetrack? To the naked eye, it might just seem like a run-of-the-mill third of a mile dirt oval, but what makes it unique? What makes the drivers want to come back every weekend?
So I think for Clinton County, we're in a convenient location. We're just off of Interstate 80 that goes through the middle of the state. Easy to get to. The Speedway is owned by a fairgrounds. So I think one of the biggest things about Clinton County that has been attractive to drivers is, the backstretch, we have no guardrails in the backstretch. You basically pull out into a field. And so same thing with the inside. So we save a lot in terms of where accidents would typically tear a car up with a wall. We've got some open runoff space that allows that to be beneficial. I think the other plus is drivers will tell you that, the third mile, it's racy. They like it because we're always in lap traffic. So it really builds a driver compared to some of the bigger half miles that are known in central Pennsylvania. I think the smaller size track, when I look back at drivers that have moved up and changed and progressed into like 410 sprint cars, a lot of them did get a start at Clinton County. And so I think we build drivers in that respect. And then we're also known, we're easy on tires. And I think with the cost of everything these days, drivers have one features on a used set of tires. So they're not bolting on new tires just to go out for the feature event. They know that the track is easy on tires. And I think that's one of the biggest pluses that we have. We've been attractive to families to come and see us. This past year, we actually worked with Penn State University, and they did a documentary on the Speedway. And so we just did a showcase of that at our local movie theater, had people come in, and the proceeds went to the local fire and ambulance. But the idea that there was a movie, 18-minute documentary, as short as it may be, that was intentional for the fact that it's going to be entered into film festivals all across the country, and is actually going to go to a film festival in London. So the idea that, we're looking at different avenues to get in front of people. And, so this documentary may not make it to Netflix, but the idea is that someone may see it and say, hey, we're in Pennsylvania, we should go check out the Speedway. Because Pennsylvania is known for its dirt track racing. I mean, we've got sprint car racing is big here, late model racing. We've got some very successful and big programs with that. And then, we've got some just great short track, stock cars and micro sprints. And it's great fun.
Yeah, everybody thinks of, the South, the Southeast as, the hotbed for racing, and it is, but the Northeast, and especially Pennsylvania, I only lived there for 1 year, but it just so happened that was the year that I really got into NASCAR, really got into auto racing as a whole. And the fans in Pennsylvania are passionate, like a lot more so than you would think. There's so many museums and way more short tracks than, you would think would be in a state in the Northeastern United States. But it's great you're doing things, like that documentary, because that helps with exposure. So anybody in London, if you hear anybody with a British accent show up to the track, I guess you know how that happened, or maybe they just wanted to fly over for a race. Who knows? But it's awesome that you were able to have that experience and have a big opportunity like that to get the track kind of out to a worldwide audience. my last question for you here, Jason, where can you find the track physically? Where can you go out and see the races, and where can we find you guys on the web and on social media?
Sure. So Clinton County Speedway is located in central Pennsylvania. Mill Hall is the town. So it's 2 words, Mill and Hall. Located off of exit 178 of Interstate 80, right along Route 220. ClintonCountySpeedway.com is our website. We're also on primarily on Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. But Facebook is our primary audience. Just seems to be that's where most of our audience is. But we are branching into those other social media outlets as well. But yeah, we encourage you to come out. We race primarily on Friday night. We're coming into our season finale next Saturday. So while we are primarily a Friday night track, this past Friday we had Kenny Schrader and David Stremme, former NASCAR drivers, race with us in dirt modifieds. We're off this week because the fair has a big event on the fairgrounds, but then next week we come back with our season finale, and we switch to a Saturday just to give drivers the opportunity to travel a little bit further. Friday night doesn't allow drivers from real far away, although we have had some pretty big premier events this year. We had a 600 micro speed week, and that drew drivers from, I think, 15 different states. We had 54 drivers for that event. And the winner came from Pennsylvania, but the gentleman that finished second came from Alabama. So 16 hours away. So definitely a great opportunity, great short track racing. And you get the chance, we invite you to come up and check us out.
Yeah, get out there, get to the track, follow them on social medias, go to the website, and do all that. If Clinton County is your local short track, even better. Even if it's not, get out there. They do put on a great show. Well, sir, thank you so much for coming on the program today. We really appreciate it. And we wish you and all your team there at Clinton County Speedway in the fairgrounds. I mean, I'm sure it's fair season. I know at least here where I am, not sure if it is there. But having a fair is always fun. So anybody going to that fair, stay safe. Don't eat too much. But thank you so much for coming on the show. We wish you and your team there at the track the best of luck for this year and in your season finale. I mean, obviously you're doing all right. You got Ken Schrader and David Stremme there, but for next year and the future years as well.
Thanks a lot.